What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Strange New Show. Keith and Mike watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Today we are talking about Season 1, Episode 3, Ghosts of Illyria. How's it going, Mike?
Keith, it's going great. As I mentioned to you before we started rolling, they're fixing the windows now. They're like, they're nail gunning and hammering, and my sanity is being tested, but I think we've worked out the audio, so it shouldn't bother you too much, dear watcher, dear listener. We'll do our best. But if you hear it, Keith, I'm paranoid about it, so I'm apologizing.
I think let it go. You know, there are things in this universe we cannot control, but we must move forward.
I don't want to foreshadow too much, but maybe this episode was the first time I needed to make myself take a deep breath on Strange New Worlds, because I had some feelings. I had a roller coaster. You can watch me watch it over on our Patreon, but I can't wait to talk about it, Keith. There's a lot to swallow.
Lot to digest here, yeah, or swallow.
You gotta swallow it first before you can digest it.
There you go. Oh man, this is the good stuff here. And if you're like, wow, that was great, I want to pay them for that, you can do so at patreon.com/K&M and get all sorts of bonus things, including watching Mike watch this show live for the very first time. We also do that with our Deep Space Nine show. Keith and Mike watch Deep Space Nine here on the channel as well as other bonus episodes, AMAs, play-along games, blah, 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 all the fun stuff. Mike, who's joined at this particular moment?
Keith, currently paid through the month of May. We have Bryant, Kimball Biersock, Brian Kaufman, Casey Clark, Jason Moa, Bren Joshua, Andrew Hayes, Jorge Navoa, and the Mysterious Wharfs, Big Ol' Boot Shivs, Richard Coleman, Charles Babbage, CRM Productions, Nikolay Ivanovich Lobachevsky, at Grim _ those toys, Delusions, at 12 PM, JD Makes, Colin Dagan, Chris Mitchell, he's CRM. We got our buddy Pat, and now the newest sender in the mailer, Joshua Cronin, although that might have to change, Keith, because word on the street is Keith got some more mail.
I got some birthday stuff. Yeah, I don't really know what it is or even who it's from. I'm pretty excited. But you can check me opening birthday stuff on K&M Geekly, which drops every Monday. You can also check out our Look at My Star Trek Toys show. Also here on the channel.
What are we doing this week? We're finishing up Prodigy, the Prodigy line.
We've got a couple more Prodigy episodes, and then we'll probably dive into some amazing customs. Gonna be fun. Certainly
Has
enjoyable.
Anybody started to Strange New World their customs?
Oh, I'm sure.
I want that.
I don't think I've had any come across my transom quite yet, but
send me.
Soon enough, my friend. All right. Well, let us now do what we always do at the beginning of the episode, and that is we talk about the last episode.
Nope.
Because we have to give. Oh, what's happening over there?
My whole system.
Like, I'm getting us at like 10 frames a second, whatever. As long as it's recording okay on your end, that's all that matters.
It's so weird. But and my preview of what's being sent to you is good.
Yeah, well,
the world may
it's
never
bad,
know.
Mike. What I'm telling you is it's bad.
10 FPS. Hey, there was a time.
There was a time. You know, streaming live here on the internet's pretty good. So, we want to give your ratings from Children of the Comet, Season 1, Episode 2. Now, if you would like your ratings included next week about Ghosts of Illyria, leave your rating in 1 out of 100 self-sealing stem bolts in the YouTube comments below. We would very much appreciate it. And it's fun. And just think about it. In the future, when there's thousands of people watching this, these early episodes, you're gonna be heavily featured.
This is the rare stuff, Keith. Especially if you keep us in our package, we're gonna be worth a lot.
Yeah. Keep us in our package. Yes, keep us behind plastic, which is the safest place to put us.
I want to play.
No. You're collectible. All right. Well, we're just gonna try to keep you in a smoke-free home. That's really the important part.
Only my mom would say that.
Aww. I got so sad.
This is gonna be one of those episodes, Keith. This is an episode about parenthood. Eventually,
yeah, we're gonna touch on it at least. All right. So last week's ratings for Children of the Comet included Jason Moe with an 85, Harry Pothead with a 70, And coming in hot, Atari Dude with a flat 0, which takes our
That was episode 2?
ranking.
Got a 0?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ghosts of Illyria, which
No, that's this week.
Children of the Comet. That's it. Children of the Comet. Nobody's rated this episode yet. We haven't even aired it. We're recording it right now. How could they be commenting on a video we're recording at this exact moment?
Keith, I love that you can really, if someone was like, what type of people watch your shows? I'd be like, well, let's just look at the names of the last 2 comments left. Keith, one more time for everyone.
That'd be Harry Pothead with a 70 and Atari Dude with a 0. That means an average of 51 the devil's number 666. So
who's the winner?
Interesting. I'll be curious to see what other people think as they cycle through. So I think it's time to talk about Ghosts of Illyria, the 3rd episode of Strange New Worlds, which aired on May 19th, 2022. We continue to be exactly a year behind. It's the 18th, but pretty darn close. The top song, I can't wait to hear some of it, Mike, is First Class with Jack Harlow.
Keith, I'm changing the game. Instead of just me doing rendition, I feel like it's also trivia. Does either Keith or Mike know this song? Since it's so current, I think that's a better game than recycling the last show, me singing it. Because if I know it, happy to sing it. But if I don't, it sort of ruins the segment. 3 weeks in a row.
Mike, have you discovered shame after all these years?
So in our newest segment, it goes a little something like this. Do Keith and Mike know the song? Probably not.
Probably a really good chance we don't know the song. No.
Here we go.
Yeah.
One more time. What's it called?
It is First Class, performed by Jack Harlow. I do not know who wrote it. I know it was performed by Jack Harlow.
Now, I can't believe I'm going to say this on the internet because I'm going to maybe... do I know who Jack Harlow is?
Well, that's really the question, isn't it?
That is the question.
This is a terrible segment for over 40s.
Jack Harlow? What's the name of the song? First Base?
I think isn't it John Bon Jovi? I know him.
He's still going. Jack Harlow. It's not completely alien to me. Is he a member? Is he an ex-member of like All for One or? what are they called? What are they called?
Was he a member of the Temptations?
The Mbops? No, that's Jack Harlow. I don't know.
Hanson.
maybe we need to rethink this whole thing.
No, this is gold. This is gold. Like two old people stumbling around in contemporary music.
I'm not 0% on Jack Harlow, but I'm 0% on the song.
Okay, well, Jack Harlow, when I looked it up, I was like, oh, I've seen that guy on SNL. Because that's how I get exposed to new music, is this 42-year-old show.
Is it okay for us to play 3 seconds of the song?
No!
We gotta play 3 seconds.
No!
That's not gonna demonetize 3 seconds?
You got demonetized for playing WWF bootlegged off of VHS for 10 seconds.
One more time. What's the song called?
You can't even see us.
What's the song called?
There are whole sections of the globe who can't see our video because you're like, it doesn't count if it's 3 seconds.
What is the name of the song? One more time.
I think you were pitching that to your girlfriend in high school.
One more time. What's the name of the song? If it's just
First
3 seconds, you can't get pregnant.
The Jack Harlow First Class.
It's the first thing to Google. Oh, that's because it's you Googled it.
Yeah, so you can't play it. No, you can't do that. Let me tell you what the top movie was. No.
Okay.
Shut it down.
I don't know it. I don't know the song.
Shut it down. All right, well, we're going to move on.
Do you know
mercifully
it, Keith?
For everyone. No! Oh. I'm old, but I know it, and I own it. Get off my lawn!
You own it. That was ours that we played. You can't demonetize that. I owned that. That was my LP playing from the other room.
Sure. All right, so that's how that works. The top movie was Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness in its 3rd week at the top of the charts. Thus far, it has been the top movie the entire run of Strange New Worlds.
You see that one, Keith?
I did.
I didn't know.
I saw it on the Disney Plus on
Wait.
my TV.
Maybe saw it. I don't know. This isn't going
I got
good
the
for me.
remote to make it
What
go.
did I do yesterday?
This is so bad.
Oh, I
right,
watched
well,
this show.
enough.
I watched this. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's do a podcast
we
about
both
it.
had to like cram and note this episode,
Mhm.
which I will say though, I did sort of what you did, and I watched it on the big screen
It's different,
first, and then noted it the second time.
right? Do you know what is even more impressive on the big screen than on the monitor? It's not the size. I thought it was gonna be size. It's the HDR.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm not a huge fan of HDR.
Interesting. You like it nice and bright.
I like it bright. It's kind of it's like I get that the colors are more exactly accurate, but I want it to be brighter, and it feels muted to me.
Interesting.
It feels like where I'm watching it through like a washcloth that desaturates it.
For work, I got I had to start calibrating my monitor so that my colleague and I were working at the same colors when they like tone map and stuff. And my OLED I calibrated. So I forced myself to get used to because I used to jack up the saturation and everything because I like it real. But I've now come around to Dolby Vision and all that stuff in like very. This is a different podcast.
It's not worth it to me.
Cool.
I like the 4K of it all, like the super high resolution for sure. But like I don't want to like make it darker and more desaturated.
Well, if you have a good display,
why is that
if you have
good?
a good display with 1000 nit HDR, you can do it.
I have the same display you do.
That's in the bedroom now. Come on.
All right, fine. So enough of this shenanigans. Let us talk about the hard-hitting news in the weekly world news headline from 20 years before. This is good to know. For those of us, we are both cat dads and proud cat dads.
Yes.
The fire-breathing cat foils burglar. I certainly have. My cat sometimes has fire-breathing fancy feast breath, but I don't know about fire.
My cat does this hiss thing. My DD cat, he lets you know he's not pleased by like this hiss and this just like violent. It's almost as if fire's coming out, and he scares the living hell out of people. So I get it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. What do you say we talk about this episode, The Ghosts of Illyria? This was directed by Leslie Hope, who this is her only Trek episode so far. But do you know how I know Leslie Hope? If you think back to, let's say, about 20 years ago, something that everybody was obsessed with and now feels weird about?
Ooh, so many things, Keith. So many things fall into that category. You're going to have to help me out.
She played Jack Bauer's wife in the
24.
first season of 24.
Okay.
And it's so funny. That first season
was great.
I was obsessed with it. And I'm like, this is the greatest show. I'm going to buy all the DVDs. I'm going to watch all of this. And then I couldn't even get through the third season. And it went on for 30 seasons?
Yeah, it's interesting when you kind of build a show around a gimmick. Quantum Leap's that way. Many shows do it successfully, but you have to leave room for growth, because if you try to just run out the same thing every year, it becomes exhausting, is what that show was.
Yeah, because if it's really the worst day of your life and then you have 15 more, like, I don't know, is it? Anyway, Leslie Hope, good actress, now still acts, but is primarily a director. Like a lot of actors have gone into television directing. Many of them are Star Trek people. All right, this episode was written by Akilah Cooper, first of 2 Strange New Worlds, and Bill Wolkoff, first of 4 Strange New Worlds, which means it's time for something trivial, and I'm going to reload this while that's happening. What do you say? Now, Keith, waste your time with trivial trivia.
Keith fiddling in the background.
Okay. No, that's it. But look at how well I timed that. I'm back.
Did it work? Did you have more FPS?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. It's not as better as I was hoping it was going to be, but whatever. Doesn't matter. I tried it. It didn't work. So our trivial trivia this week are, first off, Dr. Mbenga, at the end of it, does the same transporter trick that Scotty does in the Next Generation episode Relics, to preserve a life in a transporter buffer. Relics, one of the absolute best episodes of Next Gen, in my opinion.
So that's not that's not a new concept. That's good for me to know. Something we've flirted with before.
It's something, yeah. I mean, of course, that was 80 something years afterwards, and so it's developed a little bit differently. But yeah, no, that's definitely a thing that we've seen before in canon.
Okay.
So number 1 in this episode, as played by Majel Barrett in the cage, was not ever given a real name or species originally, and she was intentionally left mysterious. So now retrofitting, she is Illyrian.
So that's that's sort of mic drop, right?
Well, it's sort of,
as far as lore is concerned.
Yeah, when you're establishing new canon, yeah. So we're now, and because as I think you mentioned, and as been mentioned in the comment, this does take place in that universe, right? One of the commenters said, so that it is actually changing the canon of the cage, or at least adding to the canon of the cage.
Keith, Mike tests Keith's start. No, here's a question for you. I'm trying to make everything a segment. I'm like, just ask.
Not everything's a segment, buddy.
It's too many theme songs. So, but is the concept of the Federation, we don't trust Illyrians? Is that established? Like this whole cybernetic thing that we're...
Well, I don't really know about the Illyrians specifically, but certainly it is well established that augmented genetics very much, well, because as we mentioned before, Wrath of Khan Noonien Soong, and they talk about the eugenics wars, right, in 1992. That was basically genetic engineering getting out of hand. They all became supervillains. Okay. And Khan was the leader of them, so Khan was first established in the original series before he was brought back for the Wrath of Khan. So yes, for sure, this is it is a part of the canon. Illyrian specifically, somebody might be able to explain. Unless I'm mistaken, we didn't actually meet other Illyrians until Enterprise, officially. I could be wrong. Somebody smarter than me, explain it to me below. But I believe that is sort of newish. So, and I sort of gave it away, but timeline-wise, the last time we met in the timeline, the Illyrians, was on Enterprise, the show, which takes place before this. So this is a prequel of the original series. Enterprise takes place before that even. And so when we met them, we kind of screwed them too. So I wouldn't... It's interesting to see how much they wanted to join the Federation when their first contact with us. We kind of stole their warp drive and left them to die. Whatever. All right, so our guest stars this episode include Sage Arundel as Rakuya, Andrew Colquhoun as Probosco. Oh, I'm so bad with names. I feel like it is... For people trying to do the right thing in the world, I should be better at names. Daniel Gravel as Ensign Lance, Andre Day Kim as Chief Kyle, and Curtis Legault as Carter. So I think it is time now, what do you say, to hop into the screening room and discuss this episode.
I won't give it away, but I am. All right, let's just roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we begin with the Enterprise is exploring an abandoned Illyrian colony. There's a race of folks who are a race of folks who genetically improve themselves, which is a big no-no to the Federation after the eugenic wars from 1992 to 1996 on Earth, led by genetic augment Khan Noonien Singh, as all of which I just mentioned. Their plan is to try to figure out what happened to the colony, but there are giant ion storms that cross over regularly. And they got to beam out you got to beam out now because the storm's about to come. I thought the storm image over the planet looked crazy cool.
Really cool.
But I have questions about that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's an easy, convenient way to introduce that ticking clock already, but okay.
No, I mean, but we're trying to figure out why an entire colony disappeared, right? So, like, why wouldn't there be some sort of a horrible thing happening? But from the look of the storm, it encompassed half of the planet going out into space. But this is something that happens regular. So, is that storm half on the planet, half orbiting the planet?
It's
curious
interesting
about
you say
the
that
science
because
of that.
yeah, because the way they the resolution is a little muddy as to what happened to all the colonists somewhat, but and then I
thought that was
well, yes, but it was scale, right? Like they made with the way they showed things, the shots, like you said, it seemed so huge that I thought when they were wiped out, I was like, is it just this colony that was wiped out, or all the Illyrians? Is it's just focused on this
colony?
Okay, I thought it was much larger and impactful than it was. I didn't know it was just these people, so she's not the last of her kind.
No.
These were just
she's
people
from
who were trying to shed their augments and like become part of the Federation. But did the rest of the Elysians want to be part of the Federation, or no? It was just this colony.
No. I think like some Illyrians do, some Illyrians don't. These ones, as a way to try to appease the Federation, tried to de-augment themselves. And the storm, as it turns out, is entirely coincidental.
Okay.
But also, are the storms
Is it
new?
though? Because I thought the storm allowed them to like become the storm, or no? It's not that either. I guess we'll get there.
I don't think so.
This whole goddamn thing confused me. So that's.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. It's gonna be fine. So,
that time they did the end at the beginning.
Oh well, you come here for professionalism. I know. So, Pike tells number 1 to wrangle up the away team to GTFO while he finds Spock. But before he does, Pike stumbles across Timothée Chalamet, who looks great for being 300 years old.
That was my joke,
staring
too.
at some very suspicious beakers.
I called him Timothée Chalamet for the whole hour.
He looks exactly like him.
He didn't even get a line. Poor guy.
No. I think he got one when he bashed his head through the light.
Oh, yeah, that was a winner.
Yeah, anyway, I mean, it's like, it looks unbelievably like Timothée Chalamet. Anyway,
all these close-ups on the beakers, I was like, oh, there's so many red herrings in this episode.
Well, no, because it's related, because it was them, sort of de-evolving themselves, which caused all of this. So they were scientists. The beakers, you need beakers to genetically augment yourself.
What's a beaker without a Bunsen burner, though?
Well, maybe they had space Bunsen burners.
Oh. A spunsen burner, if you will.
Spunsen. Ugh. So sorry. So Transporter Chief Kyle.
Should we try again tomorrow?
If we did that, we'd never release an episode ever.
You're right.
So Transporter Chief Kyle is having trouble beaming them up through the ion interference. They dematerialize, but there's trouble. So Chief Hammer turns on the emergency backup systems and shuffles power around until the transporter works again. And it does, and Hammer reminds us that he's a genius. As frequently we do. On the planet, Spock has found some journals in glowy cylinders that might give them some more info. They try to beam up, but no dice. The storm is too close. And number 1 says, you're on your own. Take shelter. Visually very interesting, the storm. And honestly, like at this point, I'm engaged in the mystery of the storm and in, where did all these people go? That's cool.
Yeah, I thought the setup was kind of cool. I think I need to just stop trying to outthink the episode sometimes, because already my big thought here was, why did Pike give that side eye to number 1? She was like, I'll go get Spock. He's like, no, let me do it. I was like, do they have something secret going on? Do they have like a secret search going on? It was just the way it was played. It seemed like there was something secondary, and it really wasn't.
No, well, I mean, you're making choices. You're adding layers to the performance. No, you're acting.
You're right. That's just what Jack Harlow does when he performs musically, Keith.
Yeah, indeed. So acting, yeah, Jack Harlow, yeah. What's your second favorite Jack Harlow song? I'm so curious.
Oh my God, there's so many that I love. I'm gonna think on it.
Great.
You know,
Yes,
you know what,
yes,
Keith? I would say, like, if this was a job interview and I had to give an answer, what I would say is probably, this might sound a little hokey, but the truth of the matter is, and I love Jack Harlow this much, is I think every song I listen to, when I'm listening to it, is my favorite.
It's like because it's new all over again.
Yeah.
It's like it's the first time
It's
I've
like
ever
the
heard
first
it.
time every time.
All right, so in Act 1,
And if you only listen to
enters
5 seconds, you can't get pregnant.
If you can only listen to 3 seconds, that's the 3 seconds to listen to. Yes, and I think you're at the end of your job interview, you would also be demonetized because they will not be contributing.
This
So
is
number
the best
one
one we've ever done.
Oh my God. We've only done 3.
We're like a half
Number
hour
one-
into. We gotta move. I gotta pick up my nieces.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm trying to continue.
I know, but it's
If we are late, it is 100% because of you.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna podcast now.
Focus. Podcast. Professionalism, Mike.
I don't know why I'm
this whole show is designed to get new viewers,
you know when you get the laughs,
new people.
You get the laughs on stage. I don't know why I have them, but I do.
Oh, it's not good. Not good.
Harry Pothead knows.
Once again,
Harry Pothead knows.
For the 15th time, number 1 enters the bridge and announces that Pike and Spock are trapped on the surface. She asks Uhura to try and communicate with the surface, but she can't.
So cool.
In the hallway, Ortegas runs into Chalamet, who has taken off his uniform and is staring at a light. I'm resisting the urge to make a Mike Pence joke.
Did he take his pants off too? He did. His socks are
sure
hiked
does,
way
yeah.
up.
Yeah, well,
He's like little German schoolboy Chalamet.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Oh, I was giving you a space to do your impression. Remember that
Oh,
one?
little German boy. Oh, I'm Timothy Chalamet. Oh, the vice president is watching now. Oh. It's from another show. No, don't do it. Oh, I need the light. I put my head to the light. Oh. All right.
I'm gonna voice clone that and just do a whole bunch of stuff with that voice cloned.
Great. He smashes his head through the glass to get closer to the light. Uh-oh. So we had the number 1's quarters, and I guess I should mention her actual name is Una Chin Riley, who I usually just refer to her as number 1 because that's the one I remember. She's also now super into lights, and she's wearing the nail polish she wore in Addams Family. She asks Alexa to turn the lights on brighter, then starts to rip her shirt off. Where is this going? She starts to glow red, but doesn't seem concerned about it.
Mm-hmm.
It eventually goes away, and she calls Dr. Mbenga and asks him about the away team. He says they're all acting really weird, and she lies and says, I'm good. I'm curious here, even in context of knowing the rest of the story, why is she so chill about going like Black Phoenix or Red or
yeah, I guess I was wondering. Yes, it was that. So even knowing how it turns out, we can talk about the choice still, because she might know she has some sort of like protections, right? Her immune system is X-Men,
superpowered, right?
but still. Maybe that's the feeling. Maybe every time they get sick, that's the feeling they have when they get COVID. They're like they turn red, and then they don't have COVID anymore. That's basically so she was used to it. But you would expect her to say to the doctor like, "Hey, I had a reaction to." Oh, she's keeping it a secret. Okay, there you go.
She's keeping that a secret. But I just like, I mean, maybe she does glow red when she's fighting off a cold. But I imagine if it were that extreme. It would be pretty hard to keep that. She's like on the bridge and like Pike. She's like, oh no, don't. That's fine. I didn't catch the cold. Like, I feel like she'd be concerned about whatever's going on there because that's a pretty extreme reaction.
I think about it a different way. Not that she'd be concerned. It actually makes her omission. I think, like we shine the focus on Doctor later, saying like you keeping that secret put everybody's lives in danger, but. Isn't her not mentioning it, especially if she knows she might have some sort of cure, keeping it a secret.
100%.
Because she doesn't bring that up till well after the danger.
Yeah, and like, what if it were fatal faster?
Yeah,
she could have killed everybody on board by not. I mean, like, I get why she wants to keep being an Illyrian a secret. Understood. But like, when lives are at stake, that's interesting. I don't know. So, in sickbay, the away team are all sick, and they're all staring at their selfie ring lights. And all they want to do is be in the light, and they're willing to hurt themselves to get it. That's interesting. That's a virus we haven't seen yet on Star Trek. Very cool. Mbenga says, I can't see anything viral or bacterial wrong, and besides, the transporters would have filtered it out. But everyone's vitamin D levels are super, super low, except for number one's. He takes a blood sample, and she's doing a lousy job of pretending that she's not hiding something throughout this process. She goes to talk to Hemmer, who confirms that the biofilters would have taken out any contagions, but he had to pull a bunch of power to the transporters in order to rescue the thing. And the way it works is that all of the transporters on the ship are networked, and they all worked together to bring these people, which I did not really pick up on until the second watching. Mysterious. He agrees to do a full diagnostic, which here's another question, a Hemmer question for folks. He does his full diagnostic through a graphical display, right? And we know that he's blind, but that he has extrasensory abilities. But if he's blind, how does he read the graphical display? Or is there another interface that he has that we're not seeing, and the graphical display is for everybody else?
Maybe
I was unclear on that.
Yeah, maybe his telekinesis can also interface with like digital stuff?
I mean, maybe.
Be cool.
I haven't. Oh, it'd be super cool. I have not seen that in canon. But we don't really know much about him. So there it is. So Pike is able to hail from the surface briefly, and they update each other on their situations. And he and Spock are chilling in the library. So, number one starts researching the Illyrians' work on disease control when La'an comes in. And she asks, why are you investigating? And number one suspiciously wipes the computer. La'an reminds them to be careful and suspicious of genetic engineering, and that Illyrian tech is illegal. And La'an is scared of it because, well, her ancestor is freaking Khan. We all assumed this, right, from her name, but that's kind of an anticlimactic way to reveal it. Because I thought they were going to be, like, building up to some, like, giant reveal with that. And it was just like, oh.
You kind of knew this, right? Is this what you were, like, not saying about her a couple episodes ago?
Well, Khan's last name is Noonien Singh.
Ah, right.
And her name is La'an Noonien Singh. So you had to know that, like, there was... It wouldn't be a...
So here's the
coincidence.
So even in this mic drop, I need some help. It's sad that I need so much help. Usually I don't. That's what I loved about the first.
That's what I'm here for, buddy.
I love for the first two episodes. I didn't feel like I needed to know anything. So, what about her being a Noonien Singh makes her hate augments?
Because the whole thing of Khan and his followers, they were all augments.
Right.
And so she's the descendant of an augment. After the wars, the Federation and everybody hated augments. And so people bullied her because she was related to an augment.
So she hates that about herself because it was bullied. So like if you're the children of Cain, even though like that's your bloodline and people hate like Right.
There are so many like relatives of like Bin Laden who are perfectly innocent, perfectly nice people, but that's their name, and like they have to carry that around their entire life. And so I think it's sort of like that, and because it's not it's not just a name, it's also the genetic augmentation thing. Like you're going to be really touchy about that part because everyone's still scared of them anyway. So I think that's what's going on. So all of a sudden La'an too now is obsessed with light, and she wasn't on the away team. So it's airborne. So we find so many people writhing in sickbay, the background actors must have had to writhe on those beds for hours. That's also a very silly shot of her trying to make out with a lamp. Like, trust me, it's gonna work.
There's a lot of silly. I don't know what about.
You want me to lick the lamp? Yeah, it's gonna work. Really? You want me to do that? Okay.
This, when choosing plot devices, right? A good idea can quickly be marred if it veers into hoke. And because you picked something so specific, like the obsession with light or whatever, and you don't get more granular than that, people are gonna make there are only so many choices you can make, right? Like, oh, I'm in love with the light. I need to be touching the light. I need to start an atom bomb to make the light. Like, so for me, already at this juncture, really starting after the red light, like weird, oh, she was blue in the X-Men, now we'll just make her red. It started to veer heavily into hoke. Like, I was LOL for real on my watch along. It's so and when something's not supposed to be hokey, right? It's not, we're in on the joke, because you can do that. You can be goofy. Be goofy.
Sure.
I love in Deep Space Nine when they bounce around, but this clearly is supposed to be a grounded kind of thing, and I was a little bit. So yes, Keith. To be brief, the making out with the lamp is sort of par for the course, and they're writhing and like, what are we doing?
Like, yeah, what is the deal? Like, because like the way everyone's playing is that they want to make babies with the light.
It reminds me of, I don't know, the Transformer movie where it's like they all get that like red fever and they're like, I'm a pepper, you want to be a pepper too. And it's like, it feels very much like.
I don't remember that, but definitely somebody clip out Mike saying, I'm a pepper, want to be a pepper. Well, I think we've just invented a new category on Pornhub I've never heard of.
Keep going, move.
Right. So, number 1 initiates level 5 COVID protocols, and the crew handles it with professionalism, which I thought was really cool.
Here's my other. That's the point I didn't finish before. If you're going to make an episode about an outbreak of a contagion this close to COVID, you better be serious about it. And no. Well,
and especially when they were filming this aired a year ago.
Right.
They were filming it like 6 months before that, like in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. So, I'm saying, man.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Too soon?
So well, I mean, there's a way to do it.
There's a way to do it. Okay.
There's a way to do it.
Am I telegraphing what I thought about this?
I think I can feel us shedding stem bolts every time Mike talks. On the planet, Pike is nervous and Spock is reading more scrolls, which I did love that their data storage looked so different and interesting.
Very cool. The prop itself is really insane.
Because like so many times, like you go to other planets on Star Trek, oh, they just got books. They're bound books just like we do. This isn't. Just, it's more unique. Yes, it is sort of a scroll. We do scrolls, but I liked it. It was visually interesting and creative. So
the tonal shift here, though I'm gonna probably crap on it later, is an interesting choice, right? You have such a red alert ticking time bomb on the ship, right? And these guys just waiting for the rain to pass at this juncture. We're just hanging out.
Well, but they also don't really know what's going on the ship and don't have any ability to do anything about it.
Yeah, I'm not saying they should be involved in that plot. I'm just saying the stakes on each plot line are very much very different, very juxtaposed.
Yeah, I mean they'll get there, we're gonna do some light reading here in the apocalyptic storm.
But by the way,
yeah,
I don't know if I could rock it, but I sure want that leather jacket. Their leather away jackets are so cool.
Oh yeah, no, they've definitely like upped the jacket game in New Trek, right? Because like we had the Picardigan, a little bit in the original series, but now like the cool ass jackets over the uniform is sort of a new thing.
These are up there with like the Peter Quill
and usually
Star-Lord jacket.
You add a jacket to sort of like, you can't make it look good, but you can make it look ambiguous. for those of us who are no longer 25-year-old actors. But in this case, it's just cool on top of cool.
Man, it's 90 degrees outside. Keep throwing a duster.
Can, will, and have. I mean, I was up like last week. I was at a party, hottest day in like 100 years, and I have to get on a train from New Jersey, get into Manhattan, take the subway, walk up all over the Upper West Side, and I'm in like my coat, which is like freaking wool, and my dress shirt on top of that. Terrible.
What's with the jacket, Keith?
Terrible.
I'm on an away mission.
I was on an away mission, and my mission to not sweat constantly was failed. All right. So Pike is nervous, and Spock is reading more scrolls. He's learned that this colony of Illyrians wanted to join the Federation, and were trying to de-engineer themselves to do it. Very interesting. Then
he stumbled upon the best scrolls to stumble upon. He really got lucky in his just like random picking of scrolls.
I'm sure there's a card catalog somewhere in there that he checked.
Okay, he's got that Dewey Decimal.
The Dewey Decimal System. Yeah, exactly. So then, they see fire ghosts flying around in the sky. Who are they gonna call?
The Dementors.
Dementors. Yes, like fire Dementors flying around, very Ghostbusters. And that is the end of Act 1. Interesting, the act breaks are completely different on Paramount Plus, because Act 1 is like 25 minutes long, and 2 and 3 are like 7 minutes each.
I'm still learning too how to pace time screenshots for this, because there's so much visual candy that I'm taking so many more than Deep Space Nine, so my rhythm's all off.
But that's fine. More is better than less.
I agree.
Because as Mike and I fight about on a regular basis, digital things don't take up any space, so might as well have more as opposed to less. So in Act 2, Uhura opens her bunk to discovers her two roommates in their underwear trying to make a baby with a ball of light. Interesting to note that they have co-ed dorms. Mm-hmm. Which actually makes total sense for the future. I think we're headed there.
This rave scene was an LOL.
It is look, we all did some crazy stuff in college. I don't think I've done that particular party. But then...
God, somebody cut this and put us in front of a fireball.
Oh, I think, who's going to make it with the ball of light?
Haynes his way. Okay.
This whole thing is like an underwear commercial.
Everybody's into boxer briefs. I'm with them. At least in the future, they know.
No, I'm a boxer brief person for 100%. Sure. I think it's both underwear and like half shorts. So like if you're caught out, like you're mostly okay. All right, what's happening? So
it's my favorite episode we ever did.
So anyway, Hammer comes back into the sick bay to check on the emergency transporter that the sick bay has.
This
themselves.
Guy's always pissed off.
Well, that's true of his species.
Oh, okay.
So at least Andorians are always a little crunchy.
Okay.
So it would make sense that Hammer's people are as well. So he wants to look at the transporter, and Mbenga is like, hard no. And he also lies really badly, trying to keep Hammer out of the system. He even fakes the lights going out to trick him. Two things. One, an engineer should know perfectly well that it wouldn't be related to the lights. But two, I really like the detail of it being a physical switch. Mm-hmm. Because that feels very much tying it to the original series, where everything is switches and knobs. Just like saying, yes, we have more contemporary touchscreen stuff, but we are still using some switchy stuff to tie it to that, which I thought was a nice little detail.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, number one asks Uhura, what's up? And that's all the scene. It's really weird. Mm-hmm. So on the planet, the storm is getting stronger, and the fire ghosts are trying to get through the door. They barricade it for a while to keep them out. And we head back to number one and Uhura to try to figure out why she didn't contract the virus. And they discover it's because she was in the dark in bed.
I gotta say it. This scene was an atrocity.
Why?
The comedic beat of like Rebecca Romaine jumping in the and it just no. I was like, what is it? They're brilliant. These are genius people, right? Have the conversation about, oh, you were in the dark. Like, do the Sherlock Holmesing of it in a.
But Sherlock, I was gonna bring up Sherlock Holmes would have gotten into the bed, man.
Yeah, and it would have been funny because he would have played it serious, but she's not playing it serious. You know what? Maybe this is a comment on the performance. Maybe I didn't feel she handles the quip and the comedy as deftly, and perhaps that's what I'm feeling. So you know what? I don't want to like bash.
Well, I see what you mean there, and I think what it might be is that the stakes of this whole thing never quite resonate for number one, right? Like she turns into this fiery red creature. She's like, She's investigating this thing. Like her entire crew might die, and she's feeling sort of like relaxed and like it doesn't feel like the stakes ever register for her.
Yes, and we'll talk about that. But on rewatch, on the second watch for this, the Doctor, we don't really know his stakes until the end of the episode. But when I watched it again, know what I see? I see him playing those stakes the whole episode. In fact, it's actually pretty extraordinary, his performance in this episode, and wasted because it's over before you know that it's happening. We'll talk about that. Rebecca Romaine, she could have been giving me something. I don't feel that she's playing stakes, and that's kind of, she's not helped by the script and the plot.
She's very casual through this whole thing.
And I don't know if it's because she's there, because it's hard what your Shatner and your, what's this guy's name? What's Pike's name again?
Anson Mount.
What they're able to, it's not easy to be funny and serious and do all the stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe she's just finding those legs.
Yeah. But that's also your director too, though.
Yeah, it's an alchemy.
Yeah. Anyway, interesting. There we go. We find out that the contagion itself travels on light, and it makes the infected turn on the lights to propagate itself, which that I thought was interesting.
Very cool.
Talking about how like a cold makes you sneeze to propagate itself. Cool, good science.
And also at this point, it could be great science, because I'm like, well, if a disease is alive could be people, or like alive could be, the disease could be a species. That's why it's, you know, trying to inhabit us, or like, is it
right?
Is it omnipotent? Is it nefarious? Where are we? Omnipotent. What's the word I'm looking for? Nice, you know, good.
Is it a good person?
Yeah, like what's the word? Not nefarious.
I feel like Q would say omnipotent means nice.
Oh man, I really
whatever.
Have no. Anyway, yes, I'm interested.
Benevolent is the word you're looking for.
Thank you. I can't believe you made me wait so long. You let me just stammer, you a-hole.
Can you not believe that? Or can you believe that completely?
Yeah, you're right. I deserve it.
So, number one says, let's turn out all the lights, and we should sedate the infected so they don't go bananas. And they do. Makes sense. So, in Act 3, number one continues to do research on Illyrian disease control before there is an alert from the transporter room. Uh-oh. She heads to investigate and finds Hemmer there, beaming red-hot magma from the core of the planet. Now he wants the light.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it right. You don't lick the lamp. I mean, summon a bomb.
Don't lick the lamp, kids.
Yeah, come on.
It's not good. Not good. Anyway, she stops him from melting the ship down, which is great. But he knocks himself out, and she mysteriously picks him up easily and carries him to sickbay while heroic music plays.
This was the second scene. I was like, what are we doing?
Also, what is that dummy? It's just a pair of legs. I don't think there's a torso.
It has no ass. It's definitely not that guy. And she's not even giving. Is she a power lifter? Like, she didn't even grunt.
But that is the implication. We are supposed to take from this that she's super.
She's a badass, yeah. But I don't know, man. She's in DS9 all of a sudden.
Why doesn't it have leg? I mean, why doesn't it have a torso?
Or any substance whatsoever.
I think he burned off everything above the waist, and so she's just carrying a pair of bloody stumps.
No, it's two pool noodles in a pair of pants that they slung over her shoulder because they didn't have any time. They're like, we need to get the shot wrapped. Let's do it.
I've been called worse. All right.
That's the second time I looked at the camera. I was like, what are we doing? Okay. It just doesn't, it doesn't own its tone. It doesn't know its tone, and thus it can't deliver it.
Yes, 100%. Because the science and the mystery of it all.
There's so much good stuff.
I actually like thematically. I love what we're doing here. Scientifically, it's interesting. Morally, it's interesting. It's tonally, it's off.
It's like they had a bag of ideas. And then they were like, at the end of this episode, I want the following things to have been revealed and plot lines to have been established. The kid thing, she's hiding. We're all hiding. Like, there's so many thesis statements at the end, but then they wrote it backwards. And like, don't forget these flavors we wanted to put in, like the comic beat.
But even that's fun. It's like half of them are playing it as a comedy and half of them are playing it as a drama. And the episode doesn't know whether nobody really knows if the stakes are real. So nobody quite knows how to play the stakes.
Yeah, well, what better illustration then? You've got two kids in their panties doing a rave with their lava lamp, and the other guy summoning a nuclear planet through the transporter. Those are very different stakes. Which show are we in?
Right. Okay. Anyway, so on the planet, Pike and Spock's barricade is starting to fail. Spock keeps reading the scrolls. And the fire ghost... It's a good book,
man. Yeah, but people are breaking in to kill us. Yeah, but it's a good book. I'm so close to the end.
I'm arming us with knowledge.
Fair. Keith, wait, are you Spock and I'm Pike?
Sure.
You know what?
I mean...
More likely, I'm Harry Pothead and you're Atari dude.
That's 1,000,000%.
Yeah, I think that's a better on the what do they call those on the SATs? You know, when you have to compare something is to something as that is to that.
It's not an analogy. It's a.
How long until these two dummies can remember?
Hey, what do you think these two idiots got on their SATs?
I actually did very well on my SATs, but that's back when the test is all different now. Oh
yeah, well I by the time I took mine, I'd already gotten into opera school.
Yeah, me too. I was in school already.
Where your grades didn't matter. Like I sent them my SAT score as a formality, but it had nothing to do with whether or not you got into the school. So I'm like, burp, 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 don't give a crap.
I'm a very good test taker, but it just goes to show that it means there's literal zero worth to that number. Zero.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. So also I can't spell. That's the thing. I can't spell.
I asked the computer everything.
Well, we don't need to spell anymore. It's like a calculator. Like, of course, you're not going to...
Critical thinking, it's all you need. Stop teaching kids facts and figures and just teach them critical thinking skills. We need it.
Thank you.
Here we go.
All right, so the fire ghosts have started appearing. So Spock keeps reading the scrolls, and in the scrolls it says the fire ghosts started appearing when the Illyrians were wiped out by a mysterious disease. And the storm breaks through the windows and deadly gases come to kill them, but surprise, the fire ghosts save them. And once the storm passes, the fire ghosts leave. Interesting. But also, the ion storm that the fire ghosts live in, right? They say at the beginning that this planet is constantly bombarded by these ion storms. But when it comes over the colony again, it blows everything up.
Yeah, so wouldn't they have built their buildings around being able to withstand
Or
this
wouldn't
stuff?
it have blown up already? Like, why did it blow up now and not the previous 80 times the storm went over? I don't know. Mysterious.
Do they protect everybody who comes down?
I don't think anybody's there most of the time.
Is that their new mission? Is just like, well, we got to save peeps who get caught out in the storm?
Well, I don't know about that, but like the structure itself blew up. Like the windows blew out, right? Yeah. Because of the storm.
This
like,
was a bad
why
one.
were they?
It was a bad one.
What? Okay, all right, fair enough.
I don't know why their like central library that keeps all of their facts and the Magna Carta and everything, and you wouldn't make the windows like double pane, but
or not have a window. Yeah. Well, whatever. Once the storm passes, the fire ghosts leave. Number 1 enters sickbay, and Chapel is stunned that she can carry Hammer, despite the fact that Hammer is clearly smaller than she is, and she's using a proper fireman's carry. So, like, why couldn't she just, like, Rebecca Romaine could have done that? Doesn't need to be superpowered to carry him. But whatever. Chapel is stunned, and Mbenga comes up and says, "I'm sick now too." And number 1 finally gives up the ghost.
Put me out.
She is an Illyrian, and she's immune. But, as it turns out,
look how many people are on tables and being put into a coma. And she's like, I feel like now's a good time to tell you.
Oh yeah, they've had to, like, it's like most of the crew is gone now. Literally just the 2, I think it's just the 2 doctors left. And only now does she check and see if her blood could save anybody. But, as it turns out, it's useless because her body killed the disease immediately, so has no need for the antibodies that would save everybody.
So that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
No,
and I think it's a good comment in that, everybody says the truth will set you free, right? But the truth doesn't resolve you of accountability or consequences. So I think it's cool. I think that's a cool idea. We don't really explore it, but because nobody else has consequences later.
Nobody has any consequences ever. Yeah. But and maybe that's why, nobody's particularly concerned about everybody dying and turning into fire ghosts.
Mm-hmm. It's the 3rd episode. It's like we can't kill or fire people yet. So
I suppose that's true. Though if you really want to make a stab, you got to kill off somebody in the first. It's like Dwight says, fire somebody on the first day to establish dominance.
It's like they say, Keith, if you're going to introduce Romulan technology onto a show and you bring on a Romulan person to help you run it, your job's safe for a couple weeks, right?
No, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Or your hologram is going to get killed and we'll never see you again. So, anyway, in the background, we see La'an abruptly sit up like the Undertaker.
I saw that too. I was like, rest. Keith and I, it's just you and I in our own homes alone making the same jokes.
Yeah, we could watch it together, but we don't need to.
No, we are.
There's no reason to.
Oh, yeah. Why did you do the Undertaker sit-up? What? Okay.
Because it looks cool. Yeah. So, and to say that she's, like, mind-controlled. So, Mbenga says the only chance they have to get the antibodies from number 1 is to be there at the moment that she was infected. And they talk about the Federation's bigotry towards the Illyrians. She puts Mbenga out because he's now, he's all light horny now. So, and then there's another warning. The warp core has lost containment, and if, Mike, you don't know what that means, it's going to blow up the whole ship.
Yeah, I put it together.
It's like the warp core is like a nuke sitting on your ship.
Once upon a time, we played a video game in which we had to save a warp core, so...
Did we?
Yeah. You've forgotten all the things we did in that game.
I wasn't really paying attention the first time, but we gotta finish it, though.
Yeah, we do.
We definitely gotta finish it. So, in Act 4, La'an is gonna blow up the ship to see the lights. Ooh, we like those lights. Oh god, I turned to the Trump for a second. We like those lights.
The biggest lights, the brightest.
Everyone likes the lights. So they fight hand to hand for a while, and La'an calls her an abomination, an augment, the thing she was bullied about being. But number 1 actually is. I thought the fight was pretty cool.
So she's not an augment? Like, because even though, like, her parents never raised her like that, they didn't, like, give her the things?
No, she's
just
a descendant
of them.
But I suppose if she's a descendant, then she would probably have some augmented genes. I bet we're going to explore that more moving forward. But at least at this point, she doesn't think that she is. So then, because of the warp core radiation leak, number 1 turns all red and glowy again, and she is briefly reinfected? Which, actually, this is going to be one of my big wormholes, right? If she already beat it, how did she become reinfected? Well, because she doesn't develop immunity, because it kills it in real time.
See, I read it a different way, which made less sense, where I was like, oh, it's not that she got reinfected. She was being infected with the radiation poisoning from the warp core, and so it was
which
her
would
body...
would have solved nothing.
But her body was... The what do you call it? The augment was protecting her, and that's what we were able to encapsulize and inject in people as a cure.
So just like a general protection as
like
opposed to the antibodies for the particular... Oh, she was radiating penicillin.
Something like that.
Okay. Well,
it's not good, but it's like somewhat...
If they were able to save that antibody, it should just
fix
all diseases. Right? Boom, solved.
Well, it's like penicillin, Keith. You can take too much of it, and then it's like Z-Pack. You can't just get a bunch of Z-Packs and make yourself healthy all the time. You're lessening your immunity.
Apparently not. Okay, well, there you are.
Ooh, she's red.
She's red. I will say this about the production design of the warp core here. It's really interesting because it is both a little bit similar to the Enterprise as we see it on the original series, but also it's much more industrial and less and looks more old-timey than like the Enterprise D, which is so sleek. Right. This feels very industrial. Which I think is cool. Like the
visual design of everything is really great. So never knock that. Yeah.
So on the planet, Kirk and Spock are fine, and Spock announces that the fire ghosts probably were the colonists, and that this virus is what turned them into the fire ghosts, and it would be the final stage of the light disease. That's why you shouldn't make babies with the light, because you turn into a light ghost.
So the stakes were high all along, Keith.
Yeah, they were. We reinforce that the Illyrians' desire to de-augment themselves actually caused them to die, i.e. that the Federation's prejudice got them all killed, which I think is interesting.
Super interesting.
Number 1 wakes up Mbenga. Turns out, when she glowed red, she gave La'an the antibodies, which they were able to give to the rest of the crew. Hooray, we're all saved. She goes to talk to La'an in 10 Forward, and they talk through their history. La'an's paid a price for being related to the augments, but the Illyrians aren't the same as the human augments, i.e. Khan and such. The augments, like Khan, tried for world domination. It sort of made them crazy and megalomaniacal, but the Illyrians just want to keep looking younger. You know, it's all about the keeping it tight, and they eat strawberries. But it's a very good Star Trekian starting to add distinctions, and get and starting to treat different people in different ways based on their behavior, not on their characteristics.
So the Illyrians are like the Real Housewives. They're not hurting anybody, just themselves.
Yeah,
they want to look good. Yeah,
just want to look good.
Whereas I guess the Noonien Sings were more Jersey Shores. They were hurting people.
Right. They were there for world domination. Yeah. They were going to try to destroy. Yeah. They're going to destroy most of the coast of New Jersey. So then number 1 goes to Pike and confesses and resigns her commission. Pike naturally doesn't care, and he says, "I'll keep your secret from Starfleet, even though it puts me at risk." And when she says, like, "You're going to be in danger too," and he's like, "I welcome that fight," which I loved that line, and I love the fact that he's like, "Yeah, I know I might, like, this is a battle that I think is worth fighting," to make these distinctions, which is very Star Trekian. It's very, that's more like Picard, really, like being willing to pick up that sword and do that fight. I don't know, I thought it was cool. So
in like a couple weeks, Pike has unilaterally decided to make first contact against the Prime Directive, and is also keeping this huge secret, which could jeopardize his career and goes directly in the face of a Federation bylaw. And
he does what he wants, Mike.
They're harboring a small child in a stasis coil. That's my guess is probably not something you're supposed to be doing. So we've really accomplished a lot.
I have questions about that.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get to the child part now. So he's a good boss, but he also says, and maybe fix the transporter glitch that allowed all this on here. And so Number 1 continues her investigation and figures out that the problem was caused by Mbenga's medical transporter. It wasn't upgraded with the new high-tech biofilters when Hemmer tied them all together, and it messed everything up. Because when it connected with them all, biofilters turned off. You gotta update the OS, man.
Yeah, every time you
the
get
updates, they're annoying.
When you get your oil changed and they're like, hey, you want to change the cabin filter? Oh man, what's that? The cabin filter. It's an extra $40. I don't need that. And then you know what ends up happening, Keith? Your car starts to smell like chocolate. And then after it smells like chocolate, it starts to smell like rotting chocolate. And then you realize, you know what? I should have gotten that because something's dead up there. I should have got that dust filter.
Also, you probably shouldn't stuff chocolate up your vents.
It was the chocolate phase was weird.
Sounds much dirtier than it sounds. Don't stuff chocolate up your vents unless it's consensual. Okay. We're so terrible.
Demonetized.
So she says, it's your transporter that screwed everything up, and I know you're keeping something in the pattern buffer. At this point, he admits, that it's his daughter who has a fatal disease, and he's keeping her there to wait or search for a cure. And in the transporter buffer, as long as he materializes her regularly, she can stay there indefinitely. And he asks her, before you turn me into Starfleet, can you give me some more time with my daughter?
Because I'm going to let her die.
She says, I'm not... and we're going to let her... I have so many questions about
I know, it's a mind screw.
She says, I'm not going to turn you in. I'm going to get you a dedicated power source to protect her and keep her in the transporter buffer, of course. He materializes his daughter, and they have a beautiful moment reading a story together. We finish with number 1 making a log about both her and Mbenga finally telling the truth.
Can we get her a more comfortable bedroom? Is it just a dentist chair that she beams in? I guess they can only spend a couple seconds because then he has to put her back in stasis, right?
Well, right, yeah, because there is no room. She's in stasis. But number 1 asks, when will it be enough to just be an Illyrian, and i.e. stop treating us with prejudice, which makes sense. Then she deletes it. I have a lot of more questions about the daughter in the stasis chamber, but we'll do that in the wormhole section.
The deletion thing too, man. Like I like that, because I actually heard a quote recently. I can't attribute it because I forget even where I heard it, but it basically is like, there was an interview with this guy who does he's a ghostwriter for celebrities. And the basic idea is that he's like, you'd be surprised at how many celebrities hire me. I write their entire story, all these interviews, blah, blah, and then they eventually, once they hear the story, they don't want to publish it. And so that actually rang really true here, because if the Illyrians really are, if there is a vanity about using the augments to kind of stay younger and things like that, then maybe here, well, it's more shame here. But regardless, it's interesting that she writes the log and then still doesn't.
I don't think it's that either. I mean, hey, the Illyrians doing it to look good. That's a joke. That's not. They were trying to better themselves and other like that. That's just me being an asshole. But I think her reason for deleting it is because it's illegal for her to be in Starfleet.
Yeah, there you go. Interesting.
So
but it's also interesting that Rebecca Romaine you have to deliver this monologue entirely still, because we have this really cool 3D effect wipe we want to do, where it looks like we're just rolling a set across, but we're going to cross cut and we have to get the scale just right. So don't move.
Don't move. Welcome to Film Acting 101. All right, so we still have a name for our after show. So I think we should just go to it.
Yeah. All right. Hold on. Let me do it the way it's supposed to be by hitting this button.
Hit the button. Ooh, Here we go. So in our after show, we always begin with Mike, and we take a deep breath. Yep. Were there any wormholes in the plot?
Okay, so how does no one know that this guy is keeping his daughter alive inside of a stasis chamber? In addition, does she have no family? Does everyone else think she's dead? Is it ethical? Is it like keeping someone? Does she experience anything outside? Does she know what's happening? I have a lot of. I don't know if it rises to wormhole because it's maybe they're just teeing it up. But scientifically, it is a huge. There are questions. The source science of the colony people, so they became the light, and they now live in this light, in the electric
in the storm
clouds,
in some fashion.
And we don't know. That seems not too fleshed out to me.
Like, I get don't do genetic engineering, but how does genetic engineering get you into being a light ghost?
Well, I think because
I get you might like grow an extra liver you didn't need or whatever. That all makes sense, but like to change your like going from a carbon-based light form to a life form to some sort of a light-based life. How does that happen?
And also, like, what is the science of them? They cured a disease. Like, it's so flip the way they cure that disease. They're just like, oh, I got it. They do. Not only do they do it off camera, but they then inoculate everyone that quickly and don't explain it. And then he's just like, oh, and go fix that transporter incident. And you're just like, everyone just like, the stakes were written, erased, written again, and then erased again. It's so weird. That's a wormhole. Help me out. Keep going. Let's just keep following.
Okay, so my big wormhole is with Mbenga and the daughter, and the way he treats it and the way she treats it are treating it like him doing this is some sort of a crime. Right? It's not just against regulation. It's like, my daughter's going to be taken away from me. I'll never see her again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, wait, what is the crime? Why is that? Like, I get, like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing it secretly, but like, what is the horrible?
We don't know
crime
the ethics. Do we
all?
do that on Earth? Like, if you have a disease, can you choose to cryogenically freeze yourself or like stasis yourself?
Well, that's the other part. Is that like, is this the only way to do this? We don't have stasis chambers. You have to like keep her in a transporter buffer. You don't have a stasis chamber at this point. I feel like we've established at somewhere that you can be put in stasis.
Or like there's a cooler concept there too, where that's different, not with this segment, but like, well, if the augments had been able to, if it seemed like they're setting up like, oh, I want to get her a immuno augment, which is outlawed, but that's something you got, like they were trying to tie it together, but it never ties together, so that's a wormhole.
Right, they never even talk about that as a possible solution to this. Right? Which, if Mbenga is willing, so again, we're treating it like it's some sort of a capital crime to do this, right? So if he's willing to commit a capital crime, why not just freaking fix her with the augmented genes?
Yeah, so you could spend a little more time with her than like beam her in for a half a page and then zap her back out.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of parents out there who would love to be able to keep their kids in stasis chambers so they can get a sandwich, but it's But
also, how fast did the colonists get disintegrated? Why did no one else? Why did the Illyrians somewhere else come and help them? Why is their library on this desolate thing? Why has nobody gone to rescue the or I guess that's what we were doing. So,
right, that's what we were doing. But
I feel like the Illyrians would like be in on the rescue them thing, unless they were like, "Hey, we gotta banish them because they have this disease we can't figure out."
And did they not make the connection that we're turning into the light people? Because Spock made that
pretty quick,
connection
with some light reading.
Right. But they didn't say like, oh god, we're turning into like, light ghosts.
And then light ghosts came and protected us from the storm, but they didn't try to communicate in any other way. They didn't try to like I guess light ghosts can't.
Because they proved they have some control over matter by protecting them from the radiation or the fumes or whatever. The air was bad. Which means they have the ability to touch and move things.
Yeah, like that dude in Ghost who's like, zzz, and he moves.
Right. They well, I mean, at least they could have made like the, made the clay thing. They could have made a clay dick to communicate.
And did they break in because they knew the window was going to blow? Right? Like,
I guess.
So why didn't they just wait for the window to blow and go in that way?
Or.
Okay.
Try to communicate in a way that wasn't like so scary, because you got to know, like, hey, we kind of look a little scary.
100%.
Maybe like make a little fiery smiley face or something to say like we're not going to
form into words outside. That's like, we are people. Let me
totally.
Not. I don't know if that
we are good. We are awesome.
Keith I got myself into trouble that one time because there was this one time, there's this dude standing outside my window and he had a sign and it said, "I love you," and he was playing a boombox, and he was wearing a duster, and it was like, oh, I should clearly let this guy in. He seems hungry. And then he robbed me.
Yeah, that's true. That happens to the best of us. Okay, we're all right. So obviously, we got some wormholes here. So, and also, did they just invent the contagion thing with the transporter upgrades, and Megas didn't have any version of it? And also, they said it,
and they've not had to use the biofilters at all before this, because if that's what
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think the difference there is there are biofilters on all the upgraded transporters. In this emergency situation, he had to link them all in, which is what screwed it up. Because it was working normally unless they linked in Omega's transporter.
Yeah, but he's a doctor, right? So you're telling me nobody else runs a scan, a diagnostic? Didn't we just do a diagnostic 15 minutes ago with Blind Guy?
No, but he turned the lights out and it made him go away.
They haven't done a diagnostic before that? Like a shipwide?
Not.
Bringing in 30,000 miles?
You gotta change the air filter. It's gonna smell like chocolate.
It's weird. Okay. Should we go best moment?
Let's go best moment.
Okay. What's sad, Keith, is all that said, and you can see I'm setting up for. I was laughing through a lot of this episode. I was like, it was bizarro world. But then the last 3 minutes, I'm like, oh, there's all the good stuff. There's the idea of these people wanted to be part of Starfleet so bad that they were willing to sacrifice a part of themselves, so much so to their detriment that they died-ish or succumbed to the disease. Is really cool, especially in the thesis of the plot that we're about hiding things about ourselves, about not embracing who we are, and in some cases there are consequences by doing that, or the death of your people, and so that's really cool, and that Spock and Kirk, oh my God, Spock and Pike discover that whilst being protected by those same people. Really awesome. Those still same protected people that we've just learned about in the previous plot as being really bad, and the Federation doesn't like them. Awesome, furtive stuff. Pike being such a great leader, saying, you know what? Despite that, I'll die on the hill. I'll die on this hill for you because I want you on my crew, and you are the example of your species, right? You are the exception to the rule that we were. And she then pays that forward in learning this. Really, despite the ethics of the daughter thing, of course I'll help you protect your daughter. And help you protect your secret by owning the secret and exacerbating it, because the truth doesn't set anyone free in this episode, right? We kind of live by our secrets.
Nobody's set free. Other people just agree to keep the secret.
Yeah, and then and this kind of went into wormhole too. The Noonien Singh and Rebecca Romaine, we were supposed to be friends fight, but like I understand. I understand why you had to keep that secret. Like, I get it. I wouldn't be mad at you.
I get we go crazy and we get super horny for lights, right? And we lose some sort of agency, and yet they know everything they knew before. Mm-hmm. They have all the technical knowledge, and they have the emotional knowledge where she's like, I hate you because you're an augment. Right, that's not related to the light disease. She says, "Oh, it was just the disease that made me say that," but clearly it wasn't.
No, but she says that too. That was her line. That's a terribly written line. She's like, you want me to say it was disease? It was the disease talking. It was, but it also wasn't. She said that line.
Right, like the disease is talk. Like, what kind of agency do these people have? Because they're still there. But it's not like you're zombified. Sorry. Anyway,
that last 3 minutes. And then the stuff with the doctor, that performance, it's all very moving. And so I was like, oh, yes, that's good. And that idea of how long they have to revisit that. We can't just keep his daughter. They better do it soon. We can't just keep her. And so we're leaving this episode with a lot of secrets, a little bit of knowledge, but we're still learning. We're still growing. So the last sliver, I'm like, yeah, we got to clearly where they had plotted to be going. And I enjoyed that. So that's my best moment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that is the best moment. And it's certainly the most grounded and human moment of it all. And I think it's the most interesting part of it. Like, I want to know more about that. I want to know why I want to know all the answers to those questions. And you know what? As I point out all these things as wormholes, well, maybe unlike all of our other shows, I don't know what happens.
Yep.
I haven't seen every episode, and it can answer. Oh, yeah, this is going to be answered 7 episodes from now, and it's going to be great. So, on some level, it's a little unfair to review it this way because we don't know how this is going to pan out, and it might be super satisfying and make total sense. But by itself, yes. But yeah, no, for sure, that's my best moment. So let's hand out some stem bolts, shall we?
You get some stem bolts. Hell yeah, they are self-sealing. Here are some stem bolts for you.
You know, it's 3 episodes into the series, and you know, not only the showrunners and the writers are trying to figure out, before you have a great show, you have to figure out what you are, who you are, and where you're going, okay? And it feels like we are establishing those 3 things still. I think the pilot was very strong. The second episode, there was some weakness, but at least it showed what kind of show, the what we are. I think we've got to figure out about, and this episode is attempting to talk a little bit about where we're going, but I think it takes a step back or two in the who are we? And I feel that way in the direction, and I feel that way in a lot of the performances. It's tough to fault a lot of the performances because there's only a handful of actors who are super skilled at rising above material. Usually you're kind of bottlenecked by it. And look, I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. I gotta live my truth, Keith. Rebecca Romijn jumped on my list for this show right now as the question mark for me. I don't know if I'm buying that character. I don't know if I'm understanding her motivations, what makes her tick. I get it. We're trying to say she's a super. I get a lot what they're trying to say about the character, right? The picture they're trying to paint. But so much, as we talk about in Deep Space Nine, so much of these characters have to be fueled and filled and colored and animated by the performances. And I don't know that Rebecca Romijn has, for me, yet made those choices to have me rooting for her. Now, they kind of go hand in hand. I don't get her stakes in this episode. She's not playing stakes for me, or I'm not seeing that in the performance. And that's what the episode feels like. It doesn't know the stakes. It's trying to tell us the stakes, but then it cuts itself off at the knees over and over again. It tries to establish its tone, but then cuts itself off at the knees over and over again. It's almost like they have too many toys and too many things, and it's losing some focus. And so, and it also, you know, as much as I loved those last 3 minutes, it's a crime that those weren't in the episode. Like that, the conflict with the daughter. Think about what they could have done with that. Have it play, the foreshadowing play that they start to figure out that, oh, the transporter, oh, the doctor who's supposed to be protecting everybody might be the bad guy, might be, because it's close enough in the series run that, like, oh, he could have been bad all along. What's the secret he's keeping? Everybody, blah, blah, secrets. And then it turns out there's a reason behind it, and we have to end up some empathy and some pathos. No, we just shove it at the end, right? Rebecca Romijn.
It's also a repeated. I mean, I know what you're going for thematically. It's people not telling the truth has negative consequences, but it's kind of a repeated beat between, like, they're both basically doing the same thing. One of them knowingly, one of them not knowingly, but still.
Yeah, 100%. And her too, but it's clearly that's what I mean about the performance. It's clearly weighing on the doctor all throughout. It influences when he has that conversation before he's put under, and he's like, I understand about prejudice. I understand about being put under the gun. Like, but he also is harboring his own secrets. Some great stuff there when you know. Anyway, and like, I just don't feel like I was supposed to be giggling a bunch, and I was giggling a bunch. And I also, you know, it doesn't help that you take 2 of the strongest members of the ensemble so far and put them on an off-world mission where there's no real stakes for them until like 45 minutes in anyway. Not that I didn't like those scenes. I don't like what they're doing. Their repartee is excellent. We haven't had even a chance to talk about it. I think their scenes are great. And I think the way that Spock was learning and passing off and some great shots down there. So at the end of the day, it's not a strong episode. Though I am thankful that where we got to and some of the questions we've asked are good ellipses. So I have confidence that we can get back. And damn, it looks good, man. It just looks really good.
Yeah, it's stunning to look at.
Weird episode. And I can't say it was good. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but it precipitously took a step backwards. But I still have to stay on the positive side because I liked it. So I'm going to say 62 self-sealing stem bolts.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything that you said. It's tough because there are so many elements here that I like. I like all of the pieces, right? I like all of the ingredients here, and I think all of them could be made into something really good, but this episode is half-baked, right? It's both too many things, and they're all a little underdeveloped. I think that some of these reveals made, because we have at least two major reveals for our main characters, right? Number one is an Illyrian, and Dr. Mbenge has a daughter in his transporter buffer. Okay, those are big reveals.
Yeah.
And I don't think either one of them were revealed in a satisfying and exciting way.
We got the Khan Noonien Singh reveal too, which is
also that too, right? So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that feels terribly anticlimactic, but especially the number one Illyrian thing, right? So she's like a super soldier, right? Cool. And if we had revealed that in a more satisfying way, just like, oh, she's, it's the Superman reveal, right? Like Clark Kent does something that like Clark Kent shouldn't be able to do, and we slowly reveal,
not only that, when we first met Clark Kent in this analogy, he was in prison. We had to break him out, right? So remember, we had to go rescue her. That's what we did in the first episode.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And it's so, like, if we did this as Superman 2, right, where Lois spends the whole time realizing something's up here, this is a super person, let's tease that out. Let's play this, make it a mystery, let's make it a whatever. And it really wasn't teased out in any sort of a satisfying way. And I don't know how I would fix it, but it was just odd. I think the episode was also overstuffed. I think this episode would have been much better without the light ghosts, because I don't know what they added other than confusion.
Yeah, and it felt like, once again, it's confidence, right? It felt like they needed to prove that the Illyrians were good guys, even though we hate them. But we get it. We get that prejudice exists with no logic sometimes. We don't, that's the point you're making. We don't, right? We don't need to.
Right, well, it's almost like we wanted to do
it.
something, needed more action or something, when it's not an action episode, it's a mystery episode. And we didn't really spin the mystery out.
And if Spock and Pike are on board dealing with it with them and at the end of their ropes, and Rebecca Romijn is hiding this amongst and knows, I guess getting them off world made her in charge. Is that what we're saying? Yeah,
and that makes sense. But to keep them on the planet, like have them fill in their part of the mystery, that solves anything, right? Having her exposed again as opposed to doing something else felt just sort of convenient. That like it was convenient that La'an tried to blow up the ship, and if she hadn't, they all would have died. Right? Like, if she hadn't tried to blow up the ship and reinfected Rebecca Romijn, they'd all be space ghosts. And it's half-baked. I think that there's something really interesting here. I don't mind a contagion mystery. I don't mind revealing. I don't mind her being Illyrian. I don't mind number one being a super soldier. That's cool. That's interesting. I don't mind Dr. Mbenge having a secret there with the daughter. I don't understand why it needs to be a secret. Like, maybe that'll be explained later, maybe it won't. because like he could have just showed up. Hey, I want to be the doctor. You know, my daughter's horribly ill.
Yeah,
you know,
can
and
pay for the
I'm keeping
generator
her
out of my
stasis.
salary.
Yeah, totally. Like, can we just sort of keep her here? You know, whether it's in a transporter stasis or some other kind of stasis, who cares? Like, I don't think anybody would have cared, right? Like, who would have cared?
Well, I think we as I don't know, man.
I don't know, it's weird.
There's so much. That's a whole just ethical conversation that this is not important currently.
Well, right, but like, I mean, it's like somebody in a coma, keeping them in a coma. Like, it's not, you know.
Yeah, but I
don't
wouldn't
know.
like bring my coma dad to my job interview and be like, oh, I'm bringing dad.
No, well, but it's a job. It's more like being in the military, right? And you have to live there in the barracks. And you say like, hey, I have an ill parent that I'm taking care of. I want to work here. I want to be here, but I need a room to take care of my ill parent. Like, it's, I think, and I don't think, you know, they would have said like yes or no. But then for him, the ethical quandary was like, maybe I can't take this job. I have to take a different job.
Well, isn't the
So,
whole
I don't
reason
know.
Pike came back number 1 got kidnapped? And he's like, we gotta get
Yeah,
the
rescue
band-
number
yeah.
1. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so all of that for me adds up to 66 self-sealing stem bolts. The word on the street, a little bird told us
Yep.
next episode is going to be pretty good. So I'm excited about that. I am not down on Strange New Worlds whatsoever.
No, I still
May
had a
I
blast.
reinforce?
I had a blast.
May I reinforce just how terrible the first season of most Star Trek is. So this is already better. This episode, which I think objectively we did not like, is still better than almost every episode in the first season of Next Gen, which is a
Like
legend
I said,
and
you
my whole heart.
You gotta find
So,
here's the difference, Keith. Here's the difference.
Yeah.
Network television, streaming television, so many differences, but broad stroke, you can course correct in network television. If things are going a certain way and you got to make some choices, you can rewrite those scripts, get me new scripts. But by the time you start production on these streaming shows, the series is written. So these were all pretty much produced together. So whatever course they're on, they're either going to figure it out or they're not going to figure it out. They're not going to. There's no course correction coming in season 1. So we'll see.
And you get 10, not 26 or 22 or however many you
you're
get.
30% in, right? Like warm up is over.
However, in the case, and this is interesting because if you get into a Disco conversation, Disco was so committed to one storyline in the first season and they couldn't correct, and it ended up being, to me personally, pretty unsatisfying. This one, because it's episodic, right? Next week can be completely different than this. And so you're not super hamstrung to like one storyline. Anyway, we'll be back next week with Memento Mori. Mike, tell us, what other shows could people listen to?
Keith, so much to watch, so much to listen to. You can start your Mondays with us, with K&M Geekly. That's over there. Keith and I talk about all things geek and to be honest, just like what we're feeling. Do you want to hike in the woods and you want to have us in your ear holes walking you through? Did you sire one of these two people? Well, then you will probably enjoy that show. Then on Wednesdays, Keith, coming in hot is Keith and Mike watch Deep Space Nine, where we go episode by episode. We are in season 3, episode 12 upcoming.
Tomorrow.
A two-parter, I
have a lot of work to do.
Very exciting. We've left our poor guys on a planet. We gotta figure out what's going on. We gotta Terminator this thing. And then, of course...
planet meeting Earth.
Yeah, Friday is when our strange new show drops. You're already a part of that. And Keith, then, in the weekend, Sunday, we talk about Star Trek toys, and we're opening the Prodigy line, but we got lots of cool stuff coming. You can be part of the team, patreon.com/K&M. We thank each and every one of you. We hope that you will join.
Yes, and every single one of these, except for toys, is available also as a podcasting feed, so you might be just listening to this in your ear holes. And if you are, please leave us a rating and review. It really helps us find other listeners. Mike, I know you've got a heart out in 2 minutos.
That is
so till then, this has been Keith and Mike Watch Strange New Show.
It's gonna get better. Somebody told me on YouTube.
Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.